Mr. Ross Davenport, welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. I'm back on East Coast time.
Good.
Back to reality.
Have you noticed that I have done a unique intro for every single episode?
I do. That's why you make the big bucks, sir.
Well, the bucks, not the big ones.
No, it was a fun Saturday of Youth Rugby at Okapi. We'll get to that a little later. But welcome to episode 41 of Talking Florida Rugby. We're only 20 episodes behind your age, Charlie.
Maybe.
No, not quite that many. But we're up there, 41. We had a week off last week because I was out of town. We'll get to that in a little bit. But first, as always, if you'd like to jump in on the conversation, you can leave some comments on Facebook or YouTube, or you can even jump in. We haven't had many. Yes. We haven't had many live guests, Charlie. What if you see at the bottom there of your screen, rugbyfl.com/join.
Yeah, listen. You just have to join for a little bit. Don't be shy. You know, we'll bring you in. We'll talk a little bit. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah,
if it's, within.
Listen, if you and I can do this, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Rugbyfl.com/join. Just have a computer or an iPad or a phone. We appear to have lost Charlie. Oh, he's back. There he is. We lost you for a second there, sir.
I got this new mouse and it's very sensitive.
Oh, fancy.
I keep myself out for a second.
Thanks, as always, to our sponsors. If you'd like to sponsor the show, you can always reach out to Charlie and I by all the usual methods. Every team seems to have my email to complain about referees or asking who the ref is. So they should have my rossdavenport@gmail.com. You can reach me on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever you like to contact folks. WhatsApp. The kids seem to love the WhatsApp, Charlie.
Of course.
All right. Thanks to our sponsor, Chris Ream, sponsoring our episode this week. If you need any assistance with tax, estate, and financial planning, do you have an estate, Charlie?
Yes, I do, of course.
You do? Okay. That's good to know. I don't think I have one. I think I'm worth the shirt on my back most days.
I'm trying to get one, to be honest.
But if you need help, reach out to Chris Ream. You can Google him. Big contributor to the show, both financially. He was going to jump on today, but he hasn't. We'll see if he jumps on later. But if you need help knowing where to put your money to give you some cash down the road in the future, then reach out to Mr. Ream. He's part of the CSENG advisory group, or you can contact him there at that number, 954-239-7344.
Chris has been a supporter from day one. I have to say that.
He is. He's a long-term friend of the pod.
No questions are asked. He just says yes.
I won't mention why he stopped reffing. If he'd have come on, I would have asked him myself because it's a rather not embarrassing, but it's ridiculous. Anyway,
he'll be back.
I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. I'll let him do that himself.
Yeah.
If he ever shows up again. But thanks to Chris for all the help and assistance with the pod. Let's get to our off the top. I don't remember anything from last week, Charlie. It was a blur of a trip to the UK. I got to, so I don't remember if we missed anything from the week before last. Obviously, we had Ruggerfest. Mark Diaz from Harpooners was supposed to join us. He hasn't as of yet. Charlie, message that panhandler. When I say panhandler, I don't mean he stands on the corner of the street. He lives in the Florida Panhandle.
Maybe he's still confused with the time.
Well, yeah, they are an hour behind. I did tell him 5:30 local, but we'll talk about Ruggerfest in a little bit. Let's get to some other off-the-top stuff. Many of those of you that have been around South Florida rugby for years, and Boca Raton rugby specifically, and Wellington rugby, as well as now Boca Raton Buccaneers, as his son Jackson plays for them, as well as his other son, whose name is escaping me right now. But Mark Pukey Patterson, many people may know who he is, but they may not know that he's a twin. And unfortunately, his twin brother Michael passed away recently, so we want to send our thoughts out to Pukey. He's been on the show before, great talker.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, his twin brother passed away recently at the only age of 50. Terrible news. So sending our thoughts out to the Patterson family and the Boca Raton rugby family from TFRO.
Yeah, Pukey is coaching the USA South U14s.
He is coaching he's part of the USA South Academy setup, basically. So I just saw him a few weeks ago. They had a little camp day on Sunday. Did you didn't go to Weston today, right, Charlie?
No, too much.
For the Jaguars today. But yeah, the youth's coming along. And Pukey was a big part of the development of Wellington Wizards. Set that club up. Has moved on now to the USA South Panthers. But yeah, again, sending our thoughts out to the Patterson family with the loss of Michael. The FYRU board, Charlie. This is always you and I always have this discussion on a weekly basis. Who's in charge of Florida youth rugby? Now, people always used to ask us this too, and we said, Evan, the clubs, but they finally come up with a board. They have had a board. They had an election, and the FYRU.
Let me just say, let me jump in quickly, because what I think was happening is sort of the FYRU sort of started like dissolving itself. Let's put it that way, over the years, and
it was a bit of a mess. It was a mess.
It was like non-existent because there was no board at all, and it was sort of
correct.
Just Evan talking to the clubs. So they finally got their act together, and they elected this board.
They did. I'm going to ignore all of your typos in this, Charlie. It's the FYRU, not the FRYU. But Aaron Church from the Jacksonville Wolverines, Alan Lawson of Wellington Wizards is also helping out with the Jaguars, Garth Duff-Gray from the Boca Raton Bucks, Joe Hillbush, the new coach of Tampa Crew U19s, and then Victoria Sweet, mother of Reardon Sweet, the big man from the Swiffle Hammerheads U19. So good to see a 5-person board who will hopefully be making some solid decisions, Charlie, down the road here.
Well, yeah, of course. The yet has to be elected a chairman of the board, which would be sort of like, I guess, a president, more executive. That has not been done. These votings, for some reason, take some time, but we're on a good path to restore the institutionality of the youth rugby, which I think
it's good to see. There's decisions to be made, and there was really nobody to make them other than Evan before this board was back set up. So good to see all the areas of the state as well being represented. North Florida, South Florida, as well as the West Coast. Now we just need a team in Orlando back up again, Charlie, which is one of those things that annoys both you and I, that one of the biggest cities in the state doesn't have a youth program. Hopefully that'll be remedied next season. And hopefully that's on one of these things that these board members, this board is going to work on, is expanding the U9 number of U19 teams. Lastly, off the top, Sarah Barsoom, former Boca Raton Buccaneer, former Fort Miami member. She's went up to life this year, a freshman, and scored 2 tries for varsity today in a big win over Charlotte women. So well done to Sarah there. And yes, I did go to. We didn't have an episode last week. I told Charlie I would do it, but I don't remember what state I was in at midnight, so I was probably sleeping. But we decided a couple of days before that to not have an episode, as I did go to England. I tried to go to a soccer game, but the Storm Eunice took care of that. I did manage to see rugby on Saturday. I saw my Wasps unfortunately lose to I'm not even going to mention the team that begins with H, or our local rivals. I didn't get to see Marcus Smith play because he's playing for England. England, obviously, with a nice win yesterday over Wales. Made a little hard work of it at the end. But, yeah, it was a good trip.
Let me ask you this. Do you get to go to your was this your club as a young guy over there?
So the main reason for the trip was to get the Wasps Rugby, obviously a member of the Premiership. Now, the Wasps Rugby Club, now, since professional started, the professional side of it and the amateur side are very much separate. But they do come together on occasion. Obviously, the professional club plays in Coventry, which is an hour plus north of where the amateur side plays. But we have a big dinner every 5 years. My dad played for Wasps during his playing career and was a vice president. And so obviously he likes to go back every year and see his mates. You know, he's 76 now, so these do mean a lot to him. And my brother flew in from Seattle. He went as well. I did not play for Wasps. I played my local rugby with Ruislip, which is a club 15, 20 minutes away from original Wasps home in Sudbury. So a lot of my friends after Ruislip did go on to play, not first team pro for Wasps, but they did play for. So I had a lot of my friends three friends that played with me at Ruislip that were there. So it was good to see them as well. There were a couple of professional Wasps there. Brad Shields was there, as well as Fekitoa, Malachi Fekitoa. So a couple of two New Zealanders showed up for the do. So that it was a great evening. Lots of drinks were had and lots of great food was eaten at the Savoy Hotel. And, you know, the one time in every 5 years I get to put a tuxedo on.
Oh, really?
Or what passes? I should have sent you photos. Or what passes for a tuxedo? But with this COVID chin, this extra COVID chin neck thing, you know, these shirts were hard to fit in. But I did manage to get a bow tie on somehow. But it was a great trip. 5 days of eating a lot, as I said,
and not too much sun, I guess.
No, the weather was crazy. We got two named storms of 80 to 100 mile an hour winds, which did cancel some rugby. Luckily, not the Wasps Harlequins game. Oh, I did say the H word, but it was a fun game. We came back at the end and made it a game at least. But no, great trip. So that's it for Off the Top. Now let's talk about Ruggerfest. we were going to have a couple of guests on.
Yeah, man.
Did you message Diaz, Charlie?
On Friday, I think. It has been a little hard to set up the podcast on Sundays.
No, I know,
because I have so much going on Saturdays and sometimes and it goes into Sundays with the videos and other stuff. And
you're a crazy man. You mean you drove from Miami to Wellington today just to pick up a video card?
Oh, yeah, man.
As you said, like a 3-hour round trip from the depths of Miami-Dade County.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Diaz says he's just getting off work. I didn't know he worked. I thought he was just a rugby guy, but he says he's gonna come in like 5 minutes. So we'll let's wait on the Ruggerfest stuff, shall we, Charlie, until Diaz gets here.
Why don't we talk a little bit about this Okapi festival? Yeah,
so you were down there.
Yes.
It was a massive rugby festival. Now, I was saying to Charlie, in England, this is how we do, similar to this is how we do youth rugby in England, is we have it's called mini rugby in England. We have festivals, tournaments, actually, where you go and play 4 or 5 games, and you actually have a champion at the end of it. These were just sort of friendlies as well as league matches mixed in.
Yeah, there was a little bit of everything. But
nice little graphic there with Boca Jacks, the Rats from Key Biscayne, Crew, Sarasota, and the Wizards. And there was the setup. Obviously, the dreaded turf. But listen, we've got to work with what we got there in Weston. They do get great access to those fields.
Oh yeah.
And there was obviously the highlights were there was a U14. There was supposed to be a U16. Oh, there you go, Charlie. You can.
So this is like it was like 400 plus kids. From U8 to they actually had a U19 game.
They
also.
did.
So and you know, this gives you an idea of how much work is put into this. I just wanted to sort of highlight it because it is pretty impressive, you know, to put this together.
No, I think Okapi perhaps the only club that could put something of this size on, I would think, with the amount of players that were there. And I don't even know what some of these are. 306 pounds of what, Charlie? That's cow meat.
Oh, yeah, that's vacío. Well, yeah, you have to be into meat. You know,
is that one meat. Cow? 306 pounds is about a cow, right? So we're going to say that they ate an entire cow. Not obviously every bit of the cow, but the good bits of the cow. 1,000 rolls of bread. That's a lot of carbs. 4 barbecues. What's an asadores, Charlie?
These are the people who manage the.
So we had 17 assistants. Yeah, some clubs don't even have that many
players,
parents to help out. Yeah, players. I was trying to be nice. 4 up and dozens of. I don't even know what a factor. I do know what mate is. It's terrible puddle water, but I don't know what factors are.
Pastries.
4 dozen pastries. It sounds like I missed out. I don't need any more chins, Charlie. Did you get some videos of these kids running around and enjoying themselves?
Oh yeah, I haven't put it totally together, but I'm working on it. But it was, you know, so nice to see so many different shirts, because typically we have these rugby days between 2 clubs.
Yes.
For the youth, but this one was really special because we had everybody from all around the state. This is what like a state final event would look
almost like. Yeah, great to see the girls as well. You know, a lot of these age groups have girls participating as well. Good to see. Come on, kids, get low. You got to work on those low tackles. There you go, son.
It's so funny to watch these kids.
You got to take them around the legs. You don't want to grab them around the waist.
There you go.
That ball looks decidedly too big for them, Charlie, but I'm not going to argue.
Well, you know, they say that they provide appropriate age ball for each division, but I think that when the time comes, this just gets into crazy mode, and whatever ball they find, they throw in. Yeah.
Well, shout out to the coaches that step in as referees for these games, because I've refereed a couple of U12s over the years, and I think I've refereed U10s, but 12s can get a little crazy.
Yeah, they are very intense for sure.
Not much rucking, but that was a good poach there by that gentleman without a number. I think he's the only one without a number. I'll give Okapi a break for that, but
they don't need numbers.
That's a big boy there.
Yeah, he's.
Oh, get off me, son! Don't be pushing. Hey, no stiff arms to the face in youth rugby. The laws are.
Yeah,
the laws aren't being particularly applied in some of these games, but listen, they're having fun.
They're having fun. You know, it's really nice to see all those coaches involved. They're on the pitch, of course, with the youngest ones to sort of direct traffic.
What age did you start playing rugby, Charlie?
I was like 13, 14.
See, these kids are 5 to 6 years ahead of you, mate.
Yeah.
Now you just got to hope they continue to keep playing the game. There's that boy again. He's a strong runner.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you see.
This looks like the 14s, maybe.
That's
maybe
12s. 12.
That's 12s. Okay. That's Sarasota in the black and white hoops.
Yeah,
Okapi in the black with the.
One thing that was nice is some of these clubs, Sarasota, I think Jacksonville, Tampa, they don't have a lot of players, but they still came and they, you know, mixed up with the South Florida teams.
No, it's awesome. I mean, Jacksonville's a 5-hour drive. You know, come down just for some. Go on, girl. Yeah, there you go.
And this was nice. Like non-stop for 3 hours. You know, one game after the other. It was wow.
Listen, I went and shot basketball with my son today, and I was 10 minutes in. I was dead tired. These kids just non-stop energy.
Yeah,
great to see. Look at that! They almost had an entire girls' front row there. Who is that in the green? Is that Wellington?
Wellington, yeah, Wellington. I think
that's a big boy.
The most girls.
Drop your shoulder, son. Drop your shoulder. Oh, a good ruck by. Look at that counter ruck by Key Biscayne. The girl's giving him all he can handle, though. Oh, some hands in there. Some hands in there.
Yeah, they don't make too many calls. If not, they will just be stopping every 2 seconds. But
yeah, you could certainly blow the whistle at any point in these games for sure. But
it's mostly, I think, about sort of safety and letting them run.
Go on, son. Oh, good stiff arm there to the chest. Good, yeah. There you go. Get out of my way. Who's this guy on the field with his camera? He's going to get run over at some point. Yeah. We had a bit of that at Ruggerfest last week. Somebody on the field with a camera who shall remain nameless. He knows who he is if he's watching. Yeah, some good strong runs. Love it. Referee says play on, as you do. It is almost like ants, right? We got to spread out.
Yeah, well, you see that. The U8s pretty much, they all run together. All of it. The U10s a little bit, and then these guys eventually,
nice run by that gentleman. That's a try.
It gets very intense. It's really nice to watch.
They'll learn when they get older that you got to find that space out wide.
Okay, well, this goes on for a while, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, we haven't got all night. As much as I'd love to sit here and watch kids play rugby,
I'm working.
I did send Diaz a link. We'll get to Diaz and Ruggerfest when he shows up, Charlie.
Okay.
All right. What's our first game on the docket here? What week was this, Charlie? We're gonna take a look at also sort of the standings and see where we stand in each division. But first,
why don't we start with college, because we have Mr. Michael Gomez there in the waiting room. At least
Mr. Mike Gomez, Mr. FSU Rugby.
Wake up, Mike.
There isn't a calendar, but he's definitely Mr. FSU Rugby. Maybe there's a calendar in the works. Mike Gomez, Mr. FSU calendar. Bring him in.
Yes. Hello, sir. Were you napping there? Did I wake you up?
No, I'm actually on another call for the FSU Rugby 50th Anniversary Committee.
Oh, boy. Man, you do everything.
This is much more important than this. You're 20 years ahead of FAU, so I'll give you credit for that. You're 20 years ahead of us. We just had our 30th this past year, FAU, and it was a good occasion. It got delayed a year because of COVID, but it was a great time. All right. Got Mr. Gomez. Those of you were on the podcast last year a little bit, but give us a bit of your rugby history before we get into the game, the big game this past weekend against my Owls.
My personal history, started playing rugby at Florida State in 2010. Started coaching as an assistant coach in 14. The interim coach the coach that I was serving as an assistant for kind of said, hey, I got to step away till March while I study for the bar. Can you take over until then? And I said, yes. This was November of 2014. And here I am now.
What is your official title?
Head coach of the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Referee, you sort of help out with everybody, I think.
Yeah. I got certified to referee while still playing. Alex Charlin from the Deep South came and taught me. Yeah. Oh, great guy. He actually came several times to coach me while I refereed a women's match or a B-side game. So,
Mike, let me ask you: is this a coaching thing for FSU? Like a paid position? I'm not going to ask you,
Charlie.
How much
This is Florida rugby we're talking about here.
Does anybody say yes to this?
He gets gas money, maybe. That's probably about it.
I was gonna say this year I got 2 training shirts and a polo for myself and for the assistant coaches.
Wow.
So might be the highest paid coach, Mike Gomez, highest paid coach in Florida rugby.
Yeah,
well, we didn't spend any money last year, so the coffers were a little full in the fall.
Eventually, it's going to happen, I guess.
One day, Charlie will have the first paid coach in Florida. Might be our MLR team if we ever get it. But anyway, Gomez, FSU rugby, coming into the season. Charlie and I laughed at the sort of coaches poll that was put out there. FSU, I know, wasn't towards the top of it, if I remember correctly. But you got off to a great start this season. Talk about how you guys were feeling coming in. I know you got great numbers, but you've produced some great results so far this year, including a win on Saturday over the Owls.
Yeah, I mean, we've just had a lot of buy-in. We had really good numbers in the fall, and I think we just focused really hard on being fun and being positive, and that really boosted the retention. I remember at one point just looking at 45 guys and saying, "Hey, just give me 3 weeks. Just come for 3 weeks, and I promise you'll love the sport." And one of those guys that I saw when I said that is already lining up to be our president for next year. So just the amount of buy-in we've had across the board, from people that you think, oh yeah, they're going to make a great rugby player, and people that might have gotten written off from another team. We take everybody and anybody, and honestly, the amount of development that we've seen from those guys that buy in is incredible. That kid that you just stick out on the wing because that's where you're going to put him. I mean, that kid now is making tackles and making passes in the B-side games. Every single week that we've competed, going back to the fall, we've had at least 2 matches. Going back to our first action at the Sevens tournament, we sent 3 teams. We're really focused on getting kids playing time and making sure that they get a good return on their investment in the club. I asked them to invest in the club, and in return, the club will invest in them. And I mean, we've seen that pay off. We had our 33rd player play on the first grade side in 5 matches on Saturday.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, you guys. So 40 plus at practice, I assume you've been seeing that.
No. We have our season high is 38.
Okay, so close to 40 at practice, but that's awesome. I know there's not many teams in Florida, even at any level, with that many players. And as you can see, the schedule there, 5 games already. I know some teams have only played 3. I know the college schedule's a little wacky. You got like a month off. You got a month off now because of spring break.
Yeah,
spring breaks.
Yeah, when Kirk asked me when I wanted the bye week, I said, hey, that Friday before the spring break, always low numbers, and we always typically play UNF that weekend, and it's always a scramble for guys. So I told Kirk to save me the headache, and with a month off, the boys can enjoy this next week coming up and go into spring break, and then we can come back and really, really work hard for 2 weeks. With our numbers, that means we can just go. We can do more contact. We can push the boys harder, and hit UNF, and it's going to be a very tough game. And hopefully, we come out of that with enough points to put us where we want to be come playoffs.
I see you have a
top
good
of the table
kicker
right now.
Hey, Mike.
No, Charlie, we have a phenomenal kicker.
Okay, because I'm a big fan.
I know that is why I missed his last conversion because I was just rushing to get you the highlight. So I didn't include his last conversion, but that is Max Larson. He's a freshman. He is the points leader in the conference. Originally yes, but he was his high school football team's kicker at St. Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, a very good program too.
Yeah. We've got quite a few. We've got a couple Aquinas, as I'm sure you guys know, a couple Gibbons players, a few Gibbons players.
We have a bunch of them watching right now, for sure.
Oh man, I would say I got to meet a couple of them. I got to meet JT and Alex who play for them. They came and watched the game, which was really cool. I got to meet, Coach Rocky, Coach Woody. Great to talk to them and, see what we can do to develop our relationship.
Yeah, talk about this game a little bit, Mike.
Man, a really good game. Probably the most we've been tested in a second half, but very, very defensive. The least amount of points we've let up all season. but also, the least amount of tries we scored. We didn't get that bonus point, first time we've been held to only 3 tries in a match. So, credit to the FAU guys for never giving up, never fighting. And honestly, for staying in the match the whole time. This was probably the least amount our bench has gotten out there. It wasn't until we scored in the 70th minute that I believe four reserves came onto the park.
Yeah, Tiger. FAU obviously were originally undefeated, and then had to give up their 2 wins due to some ineligibility issues. But they were picked to finish towards the top after winning last year's U23s thing, basically. But yeah, it's good to have that pipeline going. That you understand, I'm sure, as many college coaches do, that the amount of talent down here in South Florida at the high school level is incredible. And games like this are a good recruiting tool for you, I'm sure. As you said, you had the Gibbons guys out there and some Gibbons guys playing for you guys already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we don't get too many opportunities to come down to South Florida. So it was good, and even when things weren't going to work out for us, we still kind of pulled things off. The boys hit traffic early on the bus and got late. We weren't even going to be able, we had a couple opponents drop out for our reserve grade match. And, sure enough, on the bus, I looked at the guys and said, hey, if we get there at 10 minutes to 7, are you guys going to be ready? And do you guys want to kick off and just play against each other? And sure enough, they were ready to go. And luckily, I'm so thankful for Ronnie. He sent up some of his boys from down south,
nice.
Who came up. And sure enough, we had our reserve grade side, half of them in the reserve grade jerseys, half of them in the reserve grade jerseys turned inside out. And they played, 12 on 12 for, 40, 50 minutes. But hey, they got to play rugby on a Saturday.
So better than nothing.
Yeah, so we were pretty, and with the lower numbers, we got to see some of the bigger boys out in the space, and they got to display some of their skills that they wouldn't maybe show off in a traditional match. So it was definitely fun to watch them, and a lot of parents were out there.
I see that nice crowd.
Yeah, it was great to see all those parents. Tallahassee's a long drive for everyone in South Florida, so anytime we can make it down south and get to meet. We get to meet the parents and the families is always great.
Night games, Charlie. You and I always talk about how fun night games are, but nobody listens to us down here.
Hey, Mike, I have to say your cameraman has improved a lot.
This was a new one. One, but I gave him a quick lesson. Before the match, and he did a stand-up job.
Might have a job with you, Charlie, at some point.
Yeah. Is he from? Oh no, he's in.
He's from Miami. Santi Rodriguez. He's from Miami.
Santi. Okay, text him.
Yeah, I know FAU dealing with some injury woes this year, which they didn't have last year. But they'll be. I think they'll be in the mix at when all things come together here. But obviously, getting that. I know that the playoff system was kind of weird. The last time we had a proper season with. The lower seeds hosting to try and encourage these teams, that
that got
travel,
changed.
But they scrapped that. Yeah, so obviously the
changed.
one seed will be huge for you guys, at least to get.
There's some debate. There's some debate. Do we want the quarterfinal match or not?
Does team number 1 get a bye weekend?
Yes.
Yes. Because we have to just
2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. Yes, Charlie.
I just found out also that in D2, like everybody goes to the playoffs.
Yeah, I found that out this weekend too. This is going to be a sweet try from our machine.
Oh, nice interception.
Yusuf Abu. Yeah, he's absolutely been dominant these last 2 matches.
Big boy, inside center.
Inside center, yeah, he's a product of the Pines team.
Oh, way back, West Pines.
Yeah. He propped for them one year.
So, West Pines, rest in peace, West Pines. But they produced some good talent. Why they sort of end up merging with some other teams. But great stuff, Gomez. Appreciate the highlights. Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
And good luck the rest of the way. Well, I'll say the rest of the way. You've only got one game.
Yeah, one more, but
yeah, you have to keep those boys busy during that month off.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm very much looking forward to spring break next week. I was telling the guys on the bus, I said maybe I'll be able to go to the gym and get ready for my own matches.
There you go. Because you play for Tallahassee.
Yeah. So I had a pretty long day Saturday. Woke up, got on the road to play Ocala at noon, got out of that game, and got dropped off at the Publix where the boys were doing their food stop. Got picked up in my kit, got on the bus, and made my way down to South Florida.
It's a rugby man right there, Charlie.
And you guys have also you lost one game with Gainesville.
Yeah, we lost to Gainesville. Yeah, we're definitely having fun.
I'm not even sure how TFRO is going to be resolved because it's such a mess with so many cancellations.
Hey,
and
I saw somebody asking for the standings, Charlie, earlier in the chat.
Listen to that, Carlos. We don't even have official scores from the first games, so I don't know.
No, it's a mess. But we'll talk about each division as we go through later to sort of give our ideas about who's doing, give our ideas of who's doing well and who isn't. Even if we don't have official standings. Well, thanks again, Gomez, and good luck the rest of the way. We'll see you down the road.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for the highlights.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
All right. Mark Diaz is here. Let's get him in, Charlie.
That's a hard-working guy, Mike Gomez, huh?
Mike Gomez is a machine.
From Mike to Mark. Hi, Mark.
Mike to Mark, yes. Another hard-working man. He said he just got off work.
Gentlemen, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Mark. Good to hear you. Good to see you, sir. We're going to talk about Ruggerfest because we didn't have a tournament. We didn't have an episode last weekend, and obviously Ruggerfest was the weekend before that. Charlie, I know has some. Are you going to run some highlights, Charlie?
Yes, I'm getting ready.
So it was a tens format again, just like last year, and again the Harpooners won. And this time they even brought their women's team, who also dominated, along with Waseli Sarevi, who I didn't even know was there. Mark didn't tell me. I didn't notice him because I think he was spending more time with the girls wisely.
I didn't, Charlie. I mean, Ross. I didn't think you would. I think it'd be hard to spot him. I mean,
really?
How could you miss the greatest? How could you miss the King of Sevens walking around?
Well, he still looks like he can play. That's the other problem. And you've already got 2 or 3 Islander boys on the main team as we see here. Doing things like that, just taking tackles and offloading in ridiculous ways. But the Harpooners, once again, with a younger team, admittedly, came in and took on all comers. There was an interesting semi-final match that I did that included a couple of red cards. But from the most part, this was the championship match against the Tridents, who certainly played well on the weekend, but just didn't have enough for you boys in the final. So, Mark, give us a sort of review on your experience at Ruggerfest 2022.
Nick did an amazing job. Ross, especially with you, reffing our game. Charlie, I missed you out there. I know I see you around. So this time, I noticed you weren't around, but I said I missed you out there. But Ross did well. The tournament, it was awesome. I mean, we enjoy being there, and we hope to keep coming. Like I said, Nick, the way he put the tournament on, it just got better. The year before, it was great, and this year it just topped it off with the people we had there, the vendors, how we handled everything. I mean, we were very happy with. And it was actually really cool that he had the girls come. I mean, I was really excited for that because we never had that opportunity before for the women's side, and that was something that Marcus and I were talking about. We said, you know what? Let's try to have the ladies. Let's give them a shot because they don't really have a lot of opportunities to play. And so, we went ahead and put together a ladies side kind of like last minute. And the turnout that we had and the volunteers that we had to come out, it was awesome. So we were really excited for that.
Yeah, you had some serious players, obviously, as you always do on both sides of things. Who really stood out for you on both the men's and women's sides, Mark?
The younger team. So I was really happy with the younger boys. Of course, you got Matty Core running out there. Just like Charlie said, he always finds a way to make his way out of side. That cracked me up because there he is right there. So, it was great to have him. Adrian actually played a different side. He actually helped coach this time. So Adrian, he was coaching. So he went ahead and realized that he's in his 30s now. So he
Shh, don't tell anybody. He doesn't want anybody to know that.
I'm sorry, sir.
Who did he coach?
He helped with the Harpooners. He helped with the ladies and the men's.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, he did. Yeah, Adrian Noonan had helped on both sides, the ladies and the men's. He was bouncing back and forth. He was a big help, and it is good to have a guy like that can help around and give their expertise, especially when the younger boys, they look up to him because he's been playing with us for a little while. So he's got some good vision there. And then with Matt Core, he's starting his career off. He's, capping with the Jamaica International side. So he's bringing on that experience. So that's actually a really good thing too, to have a veteran like that out there. But for the men standing out, I think it was a lot of young guys. I mean, there really wasn't just one individual guy, because they're all trying to make the starting roster. We're trying to do bigger things. We're playing some MLR teams. We're going to, LA Sevens, trying to do Rugby Town. And so the younger guys, they're really trying as hard as they can. And there he is. There's a guy that Ross didn't see.
There he is. Well, I did only ref the one game. I was organizing everything else. But yeah, there was Wasile Sarevi, and there's a Florida product scoring a try.
Yes. Oh my goodness. She called me. Agnes called at like 11:30 at night and was like, "Hey, I just want to play rugby." And I was like, "Okay, hey, go." And I mean, wow, it was a blessing to pick her up, because once she got the ball and took off, I was like, "Holy smokes!" I mean, she was gone. Nobody could catch her. Boom. And so that was a awesome. Yeah, I couldn't. And then that right there, that's Layla Opeti. She came from the West Coast. She plays for Life West. And so, I mean, to have her, and then we also had another powerhouse, Liz Tafuna. She actually just
right
left.
There, number 11, yeah.
Yes. I mean, you saw it. It is amazing to have these girls come and buy in. And we also had another a woman from my side, Panama City Beach, Megan Nean. She was actually on the USA under-18s for a while before she joined the Coast Guard. She's actually in the Navy. She's a Navy diver. So now she's starting to shake the rust off and play again. So she stood out as well. Altogether, yeah, it was a lot of names out there really trying to make things happen.
Tell us how you got Sarevi involved.
So Sarevi is actually Marcus Satavu's uncle.
Okay.
But Marcus does his own thing just like we do, and I've known Sarevi for a little while, and we talked about some things, and I said, hey, we're trying to do some big things here with some underdogs. Like I said, that's the whole goal of the Harpooners. We have some guys who are trying to make it, and we also have ladies who are trying to do some things. I said, if you're not busy, would you help? And, I saw him at Nationals. We talked for quite a while, and he said yes. And then once he said yes, just kind of went from there. And it was really awesome. And it's like I said, it was just a blessing to actually have him to say yes. And he's always busy. So to find him when he had that time, he actually said yes. He's getting ready, yeah, exactly. So to have that happen, that was great. It took some pestering on my part, pestering.
I wouldn't want to be on the other end of that. Where is he located? He's in the Northeast?
Seattle, Washington.
Oh, Seattle, okay.
Yeah, he's right there around Tequila. Yeah, right there where the Seawolves play. He's right around that area. So yeah, I had to do some hunting. I had to do a lot of airline tickets to Seattle to talk to him, to catch him. Because you're not gonna. I will say this: when you text him, you may get a text back. He texts me back pretty quickly. I've been lucky, but I've noticed that sometimes if he doesn't know you very well, you may not get that text quick enough. So guess what? We had to get to Seattle and talk to him, and it was that serious. I wanted to do it, so we did.
So you throw it out there to a player that, hey, we're gonna have this guy out here coaching you. Some of these guys are going to jump on that for sure. Well, yes. Great stuff, Marky. Hopefully we'll see you again next year. I know big things coming up for the Harpooners. When are you playing the DC side? Was that this weekend or is that?
Yes, sir. We played good. We dropped that one, had a couple mistakes, a couple minor mistakes that came back to bite us. We lost by 12 in that one. I think the score was 43-28, if I'm not mistaken. So I thought we dropped that one just recently. So
that was the Capital Selects, right?
The Capital Selects, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Capital Selects. And some of our guys, we let some of the younger guys get a chance to go out there and show what they can do. We're definitely not. We're very happy with that. They gave them a shot to give them a chance, but hey, they won. So there's no excuses. But next time we're definitely gonna fill the side up with what we need to do next time.
Anybody watching who wants to try and play some elite level select side rugby, Mark, tell us how they can get in touch with you and the Harpooners.
Okay, so we have our Instagram, which is the Hartford Harpooners. And then we have the Facebook page, which is the Hartford Harpooners. And you can find me, Mark Diaz, on Facebook. Look up Marcus Satavu. or if any of your friends that you know play for the Harpooners, just go ahead and contact them and directly to Marcus or myself.
Hey, Mark, do we know if that check cleared in the bank? Was it good?
Yeah.
Was it good?
I had.
Listen,
You know,
we're all about promoting quality rugby here. So listen, anytime anybody can take that step up and try themselves at the next level, we're all for that.
Yes. And once again, for what you gentlemen do, I really want to thank you. Charlie, I haven't forgot about you. Thank you so much. And also, just, big shout out to you guys. I don't think a lot of people realize what you guys are doing. It's tough being in Florida, just like you're saying, being in my neck of the woods where I'm at, we're like the whipping boys, and there's a lot of talent here. You and I have talked about, there's a lot of talent here, and
100%.
It is really cool, especially me being in the Panama City Beach area. I'm 2 hours away from Mike, just to play. Those guys are awesome. I've seen those guys for quite a while, and I'm 2 hours away from them, 2 hours away from Pensacola. So I'm by myself, kind of like in this little, little bubble. And then, like I said, I have to see some good rugby players. I got to go travel 2.5 hours or go down south and see the Miami Tridents, which is 9-10 hours away. So, I mean, it's but yeah, what you guys are doing is awesome.
Oh, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Very much.
And we'll see you soon. I'm sure. Keep us keep us abreast of all things Harpooners.
Yes, sir. We'll do. Most definitely. Thank you so much for your support.
See you next year at Ruggerfest. Cheers, Mark.
Yes, sir. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you.
All right, good to chat to Mark. We invited Nick Viggers of Ruggerfest, but he didn't show up. I think it was a great tournament. There was some issues in the semifinals with some, when you put thousands of dollars on the line, things don't really start getting serious till the semis, and that's when people tend to lose their heads a little bit. We saw a couple of red cards in each of the semifinals, but most of it not on the Harpooners' end. Most of their opponents, who we won't mention, in the semifinals, as they got in trouble last year as well at Ruggerfest. But yeah, not a fun event. It's not quite back to what it was a few years ago, but it's starting to get back. And I like the 10s format, and we'll see if it'll get bigger again next year.
Yeah, I really hope that they can start building on this and attracting, having one of those big games would be awesome.
Yeah, we used to have those big games. South would come down, and Life have come down, and some Argentine sides. So yeah, hopefully we can get that back to how it was once COVID dies down.
Hey.
All right, next one. Big high school
one?
match, Charlie. We don't have anybody from either team, I don't think, do we?
No, we don't.
That's all right. But Cardinal Gibbons, we did see some. I don't know if we saw any highlights in that little package there, but the Cardinal Gibbons, defending state champions, undefeated this year. If I got that wrong already once with FSU, but
correct.
Yeah, undefeated this season, facing Okapi, who were, with the success of their U16s last year, were expected to contend, and I think they will at the end of this year. Two very different teams. Cardinal Gibbons just, full of physical specimens from the rugby field and from the wrestling mat. But they've started to play a little more, Charlie. I haven't seen them play yet this season, but I'm hearing they're starting to learn how to get that ball wide and use space. And they've got some real talent, including this number 8, whose name I can't remember. I know I was looking at him to scout at one point, but he's a big-time football player, as well as number 12 there, their captain, another quality player. And Gibbons got off to a good start here on the turf in Weston. This was at 12 o'clock, so right in the middle of the youth festival, right?
No, it was actually before it started. The youth festival started a little bit later.
Oh, okay. But Gibbons, Okapi hung around in this one.
Yeah, it was a tight first half for sure. I'm not sure if Okapi ended. I think it was.
Obviously, Cardinal Gibbons in the red, Okapi in the black. Brock Weaver, there's your answer. I'm terrible with names. I always say this to you, Charlie. Everybody knows who I am just because of this and the referees. And then I'm expected to know. People come up to me and say, "Hey, Ross." I'm just like, "Hey, I know your face, but I'm trying to remember 500 people's names, and it's just not going to happen."
There was a very nice crowd here also.
As there should be for this game. This could certainly be a preview of the final, just depending on how seedings play out. I know Boca's been playing well, and they'll certainly have a say in that Final Four as well, I would think, as well as Tampa.
Boca's playing Gibbons next week at Gibbons.
Yeah, they tied last year. I remember Boca and Gibbons.
Yeah, they tied.
That should be a fun game. Listen, with everybody making the playoffs, which is what they decided this year, the regular season games aren't quite as important. Although, if you're a team like Tampa or Jacksonville, you really love to get that first round home game and make these teams travel 4 or 5 hours that come up from South Florida rather than having to travel yourselves. The high school standings, I'm not sure how they're looking at the moment. I know this Cape, I know, struggled a little bit. Key Biscayne have been winning some games lately.
They won against Jacksonville this weekend.
They did. But still plenty of seeding changes up for grabs. I know there's some things calm down a little bit in the schedule, Charlie, over these next few weeks, just because of spring breaks occurring. So teams ask for the weeks off. So this was really the last crazy week of 25 plus league games everywhere. Things are a lot more spread out, until we get to the playoffs, which start in late March. And that was an unfortunate mistake there that led to a try. This is the problem on this turf, Charlie, especially in scrums, that those balls come squirting out and there isn't any grass to slow it down.
Yeah.
If it squirts out on this turf, it's going to roll 10 meters. And there's Brock Weaver scoring again, I think.
Yeah, that guy, you give him a little bit of space. Hey,
he's a big physical specimen. Now, if you don't just stick to rugby and quit that other silly sport, Charlie, the 11-a-side thing that so many of these Givens players play. But yeah, good win there. Was it 31? What was it, 31-13, Charlie?
31-13, yes.
31-13 in favor of undefeated Cardinal Gibbons, who are looking to defend their state title. So a good win there for them. Obviously, we've had Coach Rocky Miaris on a bunch of times. Maybe we'll have him on coming up soon. So let's take a look. What else we got, Charlie? You want to take a look at results from the weekend, and we can sort of go through.
Okay, sure.
Division by division, sort of see what we've got. See, let's take a look. Oh, you don't have you have standings on your site these days. I know
I don't.
Oh no, you don't. Sorry, but we can take a look here and sort of go through the divisions as we go.
And let me just explain why I don't have. I used to have standings, but it's so hard to keep track of every little detail that are involved in the standings, because you have these issues of teams that they win the game but they lose the points because
there's bonus points and you don't know how many tries have been scored except for that Lauderdale Okapi game, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah. So
referees aren't always. We have a score missing there, Charlie. Did Hawkeye not get back to you with that one?
No, he did. My apologies.
That's all right. Who won that one?
UCF won it by a lot, like 45-5, something like that.
Okay, so USF struggling a little bit. I remember last year and the end of the year, but.
So you're getting on my case because I'm missing one score. Just go to the Florida Rugby Union.
No, I'm not. It's just
how many scores I'm missing.
I would never do such a thing. It was just the first score on there. I didn't know the score. I don't know. Hawkeye has his moments when it comes to sending scores. And actually, he didn't ref that game. They moved that game to Friday night, remember, and he couldn't ref it because of some family commitments. So he did not ref that game. So Hawkeye, I apologize. So USF and UCF, I think both UCF in the middle of the pack, if I remember correctly. Bit of homework by the panel. Yeah, we're not going to call anybody out, but yes.
What is HW?
Homework, I think. If I'm as the kids say, perhaps.
Okay. Yeah.
So
we have to call this guy.
Larry Bluestein. He's a football legend. Yes.
Okay.
He's a football legend. But listen, I don't blame. As long as kids are playing rugby, I don't really care whether they play football as well. We remember we talked to Alex Tucci, who's currently playing an MLR for Dallas Jackals. He was a D1, scholarship lineman, and he would just go and sneak off and play rugby for his colleges in the spring. So it can be done. Second score, that was an interesting one. Charlie's Hammerheads have got off to a rough start. I think this was their first win.
I believe so.
And it was quite an emphatic one. They seem to have perhaps got themselves together. Now in D2, D3, not everybody makes the sort of the championship playoffs, right, Charlie? I don't remember the format off the top of my head, but
I believe they do. I spoke with the Tridents, Jose from the Tridents, and he was telling me that with this win they are already like number one, so they're gonna have a bye in the first round of quarterfinals. But apparently, hey, listen, we just have 6 teams in D2. Nowadays,
right? So they play combined for now, and then they split off, into D2 and D3, after for the playoffs. I was going to try and look at the standings on the website, the other website that I don't go to very often, Charlie. But
they are not updated yet.
No, so Hammerheads were 0-3 before that game. Have now won. They're in the 2-team West Division. I think they have to win the division to get.
If you want to see, listen, this is a teaching moment. If you want to see any team, just click on it.
Click on their names, yes, and you can see their results.
Oh, sorry. Whoops.
Quick ad for Flash. They didn't sponsor this episode. What are you doing?
Now this is my crazy. Sorry.
Your crazy mouse.
Oh, look at that. Oh.
Anyway, yeah, if you go to Charlie's website and click on a team, you can see their results. That's basically what Charlie's trying to do. Anyway, so Hammerheads 1-3 now. Sarasota also 1-3. They are obviously Division 3. So I'm not sure if they will qualify for the playoffs or not. And there's your Hammerheads results. Some close losses, but we're not expecting, not used to seeing them lose that much, Charlie. Anyway, on to the next game. Miami Rugby coming off that big win, which we didn't get to mention, Charlie, because we didn't have an episode last week. Miami beat Boca, which was a bit of an upset, especially as they were down 17-0 at the half in that one. But came back to earth with a thump on Saturday as the Tridents continued to show that they are, the best team in Florida still, and now 4-0 on the season with a points difference of point differential of over 150, put 74 up on their local. Can I still call them rivals? I guess so, Charlie. I don't remember the last time Miami beat the Tridents, but
they actually play for a cup, Oh,
they do.
The Miami Cup.
I'm sure they haven't seen it at Ron Amon in a while. But so Miami Rugby with the one win, they're now 1-4 on the season, while Miami Tridents are 4-0. Brevard 58, Orlando 5. Good bounce back for Brevard after that loss to Palm Beach last week.
Yeah.
So Brevard now 3-1 on the season. Meanwhile, Orlando have not won a game, Charlie. 0-4. Rugby in Orlando, used to be a state sort of always in the mix, right? They always used to be thereabouts in the middle of the pack, but no youth team now. The men's team's really struggling. The women's team's doing okay. Quite behind Tampa, who we'll talk about Tampa women in a minute. But yeah, rugby in Orlando is struggling at the moment. Palm Beach 35, Jacksonville 19. Palm Beach remain undefeated at 4-0 with a plus 100 or so point differential. Jacksonville, I don't think of one. No, they have won one game, 1-4 for Jacksonville there. Tampa Pelly is always a nice local battle as Tampa moved to 4-0. So Tampa and Trident's the clear best teams on the D2 side of things at the moment. Nobody else even remotely close to those two.
I have to
Pelly's
say
meanwhile, even their record at 2-2.
Are having a good
Let's
season.
look at their schedule.
Like close games.
Yeah, they've certainly improved over the last couple of years. You and I are always talking about them.
They we may see them in the
final. Getting better over the last few years.
They've been playing full B-side games.
Yeah, they got enough for a B. You gave me a couple of B-side fixtures to add to the list. So that's good to see. So Pellies are on the rise, that's for sure. Whether they'll be able to compete with Brevard and Palm Beach this year in D3, I'm not sure. But let's go back to
they're competing with Tampa. So
yes. Now this next score, I want to put a public apology out there to referee Mark Martinovich. Now, Mark's not got the best knees in the world, and he volunteered late for this game because I didn't have anybody to ref this game, and Mark stepped up. Good point by Carl. We'll get to D4 in a second and give the Claymores a shout out. Mark picked up this game, Lauderdale Okapi, late in the week, and I certainly thank him for that. But then I'm sure he's not a big fan of mine. After this score, Charlie, 67-40, which is more like a college basketball score. 100. If my math is correct, that's 107 points. Which anytime you start getting into triple-digit points, you've had a long day at the office as a referee. So, apologies to Mark Martinovich there. What do we think about this? This is D4 Okapi undefeated, Charlie. I think, right?
Okapi, yeah, and they've been scoring. 40.
Listen, you and I have talked over the years that Okapi at some point have to get things going, right? They've got the biggest team in one of the biggest clubs on the East Coast. And we've always been saying that one of these years Okapi is going to get things going, and it just has never happened. And yeah, it's D4, but still, great start to the season. by the Okapi boys now. The D4 standings on the other site are a complete mess. So I'm not even gonna, I just know they haven't lost a game.
Yeah.
As far as I can remember. Daytona, I don't think have lost a game either. 30-37 continue to impress since dropping down. There's a look at when Charlie scrolls down, we can see that we go there. Daytona with a win. Yeah, big win over Ocala. Close one against Lakeland, the close one against Tridents B, and then 4-0 for Daytona. So there's on the Daytona and Okapi appear to be the class of the D4 division at the moment.
Yeah. What
else we got, Charlie? Let's see here. I'm not going to even mention the cancels and forfeits, man. Tallahassee 60, Ocala 15. Ocala, we're off to a decent start this season. We've had some heavy defeats. Obviously, a brand new team, only a second year in, so it's going to take them a little while to get their legs under them. On the women's side of things, this was a shock result, Charlie. I ref Fort Miami a couple of weeks ago at Ruggerfest, and they were much improved. And I thought they could give Tampa perhaps a run. I know Tampa are the class of the women's division over the last year or two. But that was a shocking score, 61-0.
Maybe they traveled
up in Tampa. No, listen, the wife's the president. I checked with her, and she said they traveled up with a strong squad, and it's just one of those days, I guess. College side of things, UNF knocked off UF. I think UNF are in the middle of both those teams, sort of in the middle of the pack, if I'm correct.
UNF has been doing much better this year. It used to be the team that was really hard for them to win a game, and this year they've been doing much better.
They've been respectable, as you can see here. If you scroll down, 28-20 lost to UCF, beat FIU up there in Jacksonville, close loss to FAU, and then a win. So yeah, they're doing well. 2-2, heading into their last couple of games there against USF, and they've got that big last one against FSU after their month off. We mentioned the FSU score. UCF women knocked off UF women. The college women's scene's a bit of a mess, Charlie. UCF, clearly the class. Speaking of college women, though, shout out to FAU, who apparently are getting things going again, Charlie. We look like we're going to try and have an FAU women's team coming this fall. They've got 20 girls or so interested. They're going to start practicing soon in looking to participate next season.
Are you going to be the
coach?
That's
good news. Am I going to be the coach? No, I have no time. I barely have time to do this, Charlie. A few of the Fort Miami girls are going to coach, as far as I know. Key Biscayne U19s 31. It's a big trip up there to Jackson, knock off the Jacksonville 31-5. That's a good win for Key Biscayne. It got off to a bit of an up and down season. Boca continued to play well. They knocked off Tampa on the road as well. Wellington Hammerheads with a high scoring game, 64 points there for Schnegs in a close one.
That was very close. They almost won it in the last minute, he told me.
Wow. Yeah, there's plenty. Listen, after Gibbons and Boca and Okapi, there's a lot of teams that could certainly knock you off on any day, especially if you have to travel and don't travel with a full squad. Gibbons Okapi, we already talked about that one, and then a U16 score there at the bottom with Key Biscayne taking care of Jacksonville. Whew. That was our last crazy week, Charlie. What have we got coming up next week?
So
that was our last crazy week. We're into March already, which is insane.
Just 26 games, apparently.
Oh, sorry. Next week is the last crazy week.
Yeah.
Well, so you put because you put 14s on there as well, so you cheat.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't supply refs to the 14s, but there is, and that first game there is just a friendly. So
1, 2, 3, 4,
take
5.
6 games off that. Plus, I don't provide refs to that Life University game. There was a couple of reschedules in this. We're definitely under 20 and in the teens, so we're a little better. FAU hosting LSU in a friendly. That's going to be a fun one. There'll be a few hangovers on that pitch, Charlie. Hopefully, LSU wakes up and gets to that game. On the only other college men's game, obviously, college spring break starting everywhere, so we're going to see a few less college games because of that. UNF hosting USF. The Battle of Palm Beach. This is a big one, Charlie. Palm Beach against Boca. Boca's struggling. I would certainly fancy Palm Beach in that game. Depending on who Boca have, they just haven't been able to have a consistent 15 out there. It's been up and down, and availability is just, their coach Ale Hakeem was telling me yesterday that he's had to be in the squad the last 2 games, which is never a good sign when Ale is in the 23. Jacksonville hosting Orlando. Will Orlando pick up their first win of the season? Perhaps. I don't know.
Maybe.
When these teams start losing games, they don't particularly travel well.
Trident's
hosting Brevard. This is an interesting one, Charlie. Well, I'm saying Orlando traveling to Jackson.
Yes.
Brevard Tridents. This might be my most interesting match of the weekend.
Yes.
Now, Brevard, it's always good when these D3 and D2 sides meet. Brevard are having a solid season until they got spanked by Palm Beach last weekend, which we didn't get to talk about. But
what I heard about that game is they were trying like new stuff and it didn't work out. So maybe they just stick to the old stuff. And
perhaps. Well, that'll be an interesting game. I'm going to be interested to see the score of that one.
Sure.
Crew hosting Sarasota. I think Crew should be able to handle that one relatively easily. Swiffle hosting Pellies. Can Swiffle pick up a second straight win after their slow start to the season? Into D4, Trident's hosting Fort Lauderdale. There might be a few points in that one, I think, Charlie, if whoever gets that game.
Yeah. Send Mark.
Eckerd
why don't you send Mark to do that one?
You may already have it. I have to double check. Poor guy. Eckerd hosting UM on D4 side of things. Hopefully, those two teams aren't too affected by spring breaks. Daytona hosting the Claymores. I think you'd have to fancy Daytona in that one. Although Claymores have got a couple wins. We'll see if they can keep up with the Coconuts. Hammerheads B hosting Lakeland. Two teams kind of in the middle to the bottom side of the pack there. And then Crew B hosting Ocala. This women's game is a big one here, Charlie. Now, only 4 teams in the women's side of things. Tampa are running away with the 1 seed. Jacksonville don't have any wins as the 4 seed. So it's Fort Miami and Orlando battling for that home game.
Is it going to be a home game? Because remember last year, I think they did this tournament.
Oh, but I don't know, mate. I can't keep up, but I'm going to assume the winner of this game. So Fort Miami played up in Orlando earlier this season and picked up a couple of bonus points, I think, for tries, and I think they lost by less than 7. So if they can win this game, would jump above Orlando, regardless of that loss to Tampa last week. I think Fort Miami could potentially jump above Orlando and finish in second place.
Just to play Orlando again.
To play Orlando again, but at home. And which would be a big, and hopefully they can be the winner of that game can be a little bit more competitive against Tampa, who visit Jacksonville on Saturday. U19s, Gibbons Boca, another big one, Charlie. South Florida U19s rugby is so strong. Those two teams tied each other last year, and I think met again in the playoffs, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong.
Yes, they did.
I think so. And with Gibbons winning that one. And then the Wizards hosting Cape on the struggle bus a little bit this season. Wellington have picked up a couple wins here and there. And then I'm actually refereeing that one. It's at 3:00. You can change the time of that one. Wellington Cape, I'm refereeing that one, 3:00. Okay. In Wellington on their new pitches. And then Key Biscayne hosting. Oh, sorry, that's the one that's been postponed because Key Biscayne are going. This is the week they're going to North Carolina, Charlie?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Key Biscayne going up to play some games in North Carolina. So that game will be rescheduled. And then Jacksonville hosting Tampa. Another long trip for Tampa. Seems like Tampa have made a ton of long trips, as had Jacksonville this season. On the college women's side of things, Life JV hosting FSU women. Now, the reverse fixture of this in Tallahassee, from what I've heard, knocked out a bunch of girls on the injured side on FSU. Hopefully, they hang around in this one. This is a fun venue to play. I'm not sure which pitch they're going to play on. I assume out in Kennesaw.
No. I think they still come here to play, or no?
I'm not sure.
Oh, they may go over there.
I'll double check that one. I'll ask Gomez. Is he still here? Is Gomez still here? Yeah, he's still in the green room. Gomez, let us know where that FSU women's match is this Saturday. That UM game is probably not going to happen. University of Miami don't really have a team at the moment, and then a bunch of 16s and 14s.
Yeah.
For those that are interested in that. So another busy weekend. I think this is the last kind of semi-busy week, and then things calm down quite a bit the rest of March. Yeah, because if you go to the 12, it's only 14 games, and you've got a couple of 14s and 16s at the bottom there. So almost half as many games as we had last weekend. And I think it calms down until the playoffs. I think start for some people on the 26th, if I remember correctly. But it's about that time to start double checking on that stuff with the boss, Charlie.
Oh yeah, which boss?
Mr. Haig.
Oh, Haig. Okay, yeah. It's going to be pretty crazy because that's going to be like throughout, I don't know, a full month. There's going to be like finals of one division. And
a lot of playoffs. Of playoffs, yes. Like, especially on the men's side of things, with the way that format is, I just can't keep up. I just tell them, hey, let me know who's hosting games. I mean, obviously we've seen, I think, in each division the sort of top 2 or 3 sides starting to separate themselves. As I said, D2, you've got Tridents and Tampa, perhaps Boca if they can get their act together. D3, Palm Beach, Brevard, maybe Pelicans. D4, Okapi, Daytona seem to be the strongest sides at the moment. On college men, FSU obviously in first place, but who knows? Anything can happen in the college side of things, especially when the boys go on spring break and meet a girl and then don't come back or suddenly forget that they play rugby.
Well, and
which happens on the beaches of Panama City.
This way of having everybody doing playoffs, one thing that happens, like it happened, we've seen it happen last year, is some teams they don't have a great start, but then they start getting better.
Yep.
So at the end of the season, you have a more solid team, even if they didn't do very well at the beginning or throughout the season. So.
No, 100%. I know FAU lost a bunch of players due to injury, but have been recruiting heavily lately as a result and have added some solid players. Maybe newer players to the game, but good athletes. You've got to consistently keep recruiting at that college level. We don't. FAU doesn't have the numbers of Florida State, but we're managing to throw 23 out there every week still, which is good, which wasn't happening last year. So good stuff, Charlie. Did we forget anything? Thanks for everybody that joined us, and great to see all the comments in there from all the fans from Claymores and Gibbons, etc. Appreciate you checking out this ridiculous little podcast that we do, mostly for our own entertainment. But some people seem to enjoy it, Charlie.
Well, maybe are we moving to Monday soon?
Who knows, mate? Who knows? We'll see. Probably not, but I know you'd love to have it on Mondays.
Yeah.
I got this work thing, but we'll see how long that lasts too. Anyway.
Okay.
Well, good stuff as always. If you didn't catch the show live, you can always check it out on all the other episodes as well on the YouTube page. Or
we have to thank our sponsor again, Mr. Chris Ream.
Thanks as always to Chris Ream. Thanks to everybody that participated. You can always check out the audio version as well on all the major podcast platforms. I use Overcast, Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, etc. Spotify. I think we're on Spotify. As much as people hate Spotify, Dexter's telling us to keep it up. It's a great picture of him there. It's a stunning picture of him with his smoking jacket on. I think that is.
Okay. Man.
All right, Charlie. Well, let's do this again next week.
Okay.
And thanks to everybody again for tuning in, and we'll see you all on the other side next Sunday, Monday. We'll see.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. And
that's why we call this show occasionally. TFRO. The O stands for occasionally. So we never know when we're coming on.
Don't run away again, okay?
No, not going to England. Just to work tomorrow.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. See you, mate.
We'll see you next week.
Say hi to the horse back there for me.
Bye-bye.